Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Mompreneurs Making Moves. And it's been a while. And so I'm excited to have you all back. And just how is your 2026 going? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know because this truly is a community for moms and we're here for each other. So seriously, let me know, how is your 2026 going? Where can we support you? What are other topics you guys want to hear about? And I'm your host, Amariah Murdoch. I'm the founder and owner of Infinite Exec. We are a premium executive assistant agency helping you do all the things in your business you still have to do, but don't love doing, but with a strategic twist. The pepper pot's to your Tony Stark. So if you need that type of person to leverage all the resources and tools that you have, we're ready to help you. But today, our episode is featuring our guest, Ashley Gross. She's the CEO and founder of the AI Workforce Alliance and AI Workforce Academy. I'm super excited to have her because we keep hearing about AI almost everywhere all the time. And so I'm excited to get to actually talk about it today. But a little bit more about our guest. She's a published author, an AI strategist, and she helps mid-market and enterprise leaders turn AI into a real business advantage. She built a $115 million pipeline before AI was a buzzword. Now she teaches executives how to lead, build, and think with it. And so, of course, all while raising a little human. One of the things I also am excited to get into is during her maternity leave, since that wasn't really an option for her, she was able to automate her way out of it. And then she also has her book. The book is called The AI Work Week. So yeah, just super exciting to have her on today. And I'm absolutely honored. Ashley, how are you today?
Hi, I'm great after that introduction. I'm feeling magical about myself. Thank you.
Good. I love that. You should. Absolutely. So I just want to actually start with the piece, the human piece, before we get into the AI. Being a mom, how has that changed you? What's one way that has changed you and how you see your future?
It's so hard to describe only one way that it changed me because I feel like it disrupted every single aspect of my life in the best ways possible and everything that I knew about myself. So if I had to cherry pick, I would say the way that it changed me was just fundamentally allowing me the confidence to interrogate why I'm making decisions, where I'm spending my time, who it's spent with. Whereas before being a mom, I don't believe I was as intentional or really ever gave any thought to any of those types of topics. So I would say that would be the number one way that it changed me.
Yeah, no, I love that because it's true. Like I remember reading on LinkedIn this post about a mom and she was going to a networking event and people were criticizing her because she left early to go home to be with her kids. And they were like, if you're a true businesswoman, you would stick it out, you would stay here, you would make it work. And she said, I am a businesswoman, but I'm also a mom and I will do both. And one of the things that she talked about was this idea that if I'm going to spend a whole day away from my babies, it better be worth it.
Yes.
So I absolutely resonate with what you just said as well. So I want you to tell us, because in your bio that I just read a little bit from, it talks about how AI was your thing, like you were into it before it was even a thing, right? Before it was known widely. And now it's like every other word when people are talking. And so my question to you is, what was your journey? How did you get into AI to begin with? And then how has it evolved?
Absolutely. So I got into AI when I found out I was pregnant with my son because it was my first son. I had never experienced things like maternity leave. And so when I told my employer that I was pregnant, I was very much expecting the conversation to be around capacity and planning for that leave. I even laminated my plan. I was very proud of it. I had thought of everything. And again, not thinking from the perspective of a mom now, I went in very much with this idea that they were just going to say, okay, great, your leave is approved, kind of like PTO. And so when they told me I didn't have maternity leave, truly, it was a shock because I did not plan on that conversation taking place. That was not my expectation. And before then, and in that role, I was a marketer. I've been a marketer for over 10 years. I'm not technical by any nature. I don't have a STEM background. I actually failed statistics in college, quite literally too, not dramatically, literally. So I had never heard of any of this technology, but when I received word that I wasn't going to have a maternity leave, it was the pandemic. Emotions were heightened. I'm a new mom. There's a lot of anxiety around that. And so I just kind of put blockers on. And instead of thinking I'm not technical, so I can't use this elegant technology to solve my problem, I just got laser focused on I am not going to choose and I cannot choose between having a newborn and being present and work. I have to work I don't have capacity to have unpaid leave, and I need to be a present mom. And no one's going to put me in a position where I have to choose. And once I got laser focused on that, it's almost like the world opened up because my brain wasn't just thinking unilaterally. And I started listening to different podcasts. And in one of them, it was a marketing podcast, so I was still in my realm. But in one of them, a founder had come on and was talking about how they made this AI tool for marketers. And I was like, okay, well, I'm a marketer, don't know anything about AI, but it was built for people like me. So I'm going to go test it out. And I started testing it again with this intention of I have a goal. I am just using this solution, this technology as a vehicle to get to that goal faster. And I would say that tool, by the way, was called Jasper AI. They're still around. But I would say that was my experience with AI and coming into it, and how it's evolved from then until now is very drastic because, to your point, it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. But it's evolved in the sense that we all know more about it and we know it exists, what it is, how it can help us. But I would say it hasn't evolved completely in the aspect of you don't need to be in an AI tool to be using AI. All of our tools that aren't AI tools have AI features and functionalities. And so you don't need to go all in on a Claude or a Chat GPT if you're not comfortable doing that yet. You can just use Riverside like we are now, right? Zoom, Asana, Google, every single tool that you're using on a daily basis has an AI feature. So I would say like that's how it's evolved is there's more spoken about it, but not nearly as much optimizing what we already have before we buy new.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. And I thank you for sharing how AI came into your orbit. And then I love what you said, and I really want to highlight it. You said you saw it as a tool to help you accomplish your goal. In other words, it's not like you were trying to become this AI queen for your identity, like for like, hey, I want to feel better about myself. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's like you had a goal. Your goal is you want to be a present mom and you want to pay your bills and you don't want to have to choose between either. And I think it's very important for moms to remember that our goal is ultimately to be present and to take care of our families. And how we do that will look different depending on who we are and where we are and what season of life. But it's not so much, it's not too much that we want to take care of ourselves. And if we're determined, we will find a way. And also giving ourselves grace during that time, I assume, right? Because I
Yes.
hear it all the time. But yeah, no, I love that. Okay, so here's what I want to know. What are the top three ways that we should be using AI today or we're missing out?
Okay, so I would say, and this resonates very much with my origin story, start challenging what you're doing. I really like this idea of tracking your time. You can do that with the free Google Chrome extension, like a toggle. You can do that through any software you have, but really just for a week, track your time and where you're spending it. And then choose those three tasks that are busy work tasks. And I love giving examples of these because I think we all have different definitions for what busy work is. Mine is I didn't realize how much time I was spending sending the same answer to 20 different people in 20 different ways because they weren't communicating. Resending something through a Slack or a Teams message that was already sent to them. Wording a instruction or an SOP, SLA, whatever it may be, in a way that is digestible. So that can look like written standard documentation, a voice memo, a video. All of this takes an exuberant amount of time. And I think that it is such a huge call out because this is where we're spending the majority of it. And we don't even realize that if we zoom out, it's not necessarily strategic, unfortunately, but it's good communication. So, how can we automate taking our one good communication and then spreading it outwardly into different formats, into different places so that it is digestible without that being a burden on us?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that kind of goes because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a premium executive virtual assistant agency. And so I think that is the time audit for sure is a great place to start. And it's one of the things we have to start with because otherwise we're just kind of shooting in the dark for sure. So that does make complete sense. Are there, on that flip side, are there two or three things you would say shouldn't be automated by AI?
Things that you're not sure about. So anything that if I were to ask you, like, what are the three tasks that you do insanely well? Like, if I gave the same directions to somebody else, they still would not be able to replicate the outcome like you can. I would not give any of those tasks away to AI because you are inherently good at certain things because of your subject matter expertise that comes with years of knowledge, years of experience and context that lives in your brain and cannot be outputted into a system. So things like, I would say anything revolving making monetary decisions and not like automating, payroll or automating sending invoices, and categorizing expenses, but anything that involves having the ability to automate a process that is going to cost money, that is going to cost your reputation, anything externally facing with clients, things that if you didn't like it, and I sent you an email and there was a typo or a good old, chat GPT mark in there, it would be embarrassing because it's an email that GPT created that got sent to you. So it's between you and I, right? I can learn the lesson, move on, not replicate it. But if it's external, if I have ChatGPT create a LinkedIn post for me, and on top of that, post it for me, then there's no human in the loop aspect happening. It's writing the post for me, it's scheduling the post. I am not at any point in time making sure that it's accurate before it goes out, but it is a representation of me.
Yeah. Yeah. That just makes sense. Okay. So going back to the previous question in terms of how we can be using AI,
Yes.
where do we start? Because a lot of us are not AI literate or technology literate, even. Like we think we know what we're doing, we think we're using it well. A lot of people think they're experts at ChatGPT because they use it every day because they're typing in prompts. That
Yes.
doesn't mean they're an expert at all. And in fact, I would say the prompt writing is probably one of the most basic ways you can use AI. So my question is, how can we get started in using and implementing AI on a practical basis as a
Yes. I would say three different ways. So the first way is having, whether you're using Google, whether you're using Outlook, there's fantastic AI features in both email providers and more email providers that I didn't reference, where any email that's coming in can automatically be labeled, it can be snoozed, it can be prioritized so that when you wake up and you look at your inbox, maybe it's that emails from certain people that you know are huge stakeholders. Their emails that are coming in your inbox are a different color. Maybe it has high priority, right? That should all be happening before you wake up because your email is your intake system. But AI, specifically automation tools that are features of Google and Outlook, they should be triaging so that when you wake up as a human, you already have an inbox prioritized. You know where you should be spending your time. And then anything that should not be prioritized to respond to immediately, again, can be, and this is use case number two, can be added to your calendar as a time block. So, what I really like to do here is I want my inbox to be prioritized when I wake up based on me being able to deliver quick responses to keep things moving. I don't want initiatives to stall because they're waiting on a response to me. So, my inbox triaging looks like what are things that I can say yes to? What are things that I can verify or approve? I want those at the very top. And then the emails that require negotiation or require conversation or maybe even rereading some emails for context. I want those on my calendar in time blocks so that nobody can book time with me. I have dedicated time allotted per email on my calendar so that I know, okay, you don't need to read through your whole entire inbox before you start your day. You're not going to be the best version of yourself if you do because you're using up your brain capacity. But this is triaged and there's a time and place for doing this. And not only that, but with that second use case, if you are using the AI component feature in Google and Outlook that auto sends, or rather, excuse me, auto creates an email into a calendar invite, in that event, when you click on it in your calendar, in the description is all the emails. So you don't have to then have two tabs open to go reference because it's a strategic email, right? It's going to require your time reading
Yeah.
context. You want it in the same place.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then
No,
I
I
would
love
say,
that. I love that. And then what would you say use case number 3 was?
I was going to say, so use case number three, and again, this is my bias, but I do still think that it takes up a lot of time, is the automatic newsletter style of to-do items that I have. So every Friday and every Monday, on a Friday, what I'll do is I will have my AI tool go through all my emails, all my tasks, all my notes on my phone, because that's unfortunately sometimes where I leave my notes. It's just voice memos or notes. I will have it go through all of that, consolidate it, identify what's already been done, what hasn't been done, any question marks in case I didn't cross off an item on my to do list, and then give me a digest on Fridays of everything that I accomplished and anything that's pending. I really like to do this because this is my archive to myself of items completed. So if anyone were to ever ask, or if I were to ever need to recall, it's like my wins, right? So not only is it here's the things you did, but I have it also rephrase it into strategic outcomes because that's ultimately like the resume writing. If you do all these tasks, that's not what they want to see on your resume. They want to see what is the outcome that you produced because of all those tasks. So it's like a good reminder and a good automation to do for you so you don't have to take out time to do that on your own. And then on Monday, it's just a reminder of here's the things you didn't accomplish last week that we need to get done. Because as soon as you open up your computer, you're going to have new items and you might forget about the ones from the previous week.
Yeah. And for that AI, is there a specific tool that you're using for that workflow? Like,
So I
is that something that you utilize in Google and Outlook or outside of, just out of curiosity?
Absolutely. So I'm a Google shop. So I like to use the Google features, specifically Gemini. I pay, I believe, $25 a month. And I think it's the pro plan, it's the in
Okay.
between.
Amazing.
And I will use Gemini for the task automation, the email triaging. The only thing that I don't use it for is my newsletter style to do list. I use Claude for that only because I've been using Claude now for about 2 years pretty consistently. And I really enjoy having all my tools connected in one place, and it will do that for me. And Google and Gemini specifically can only surface things within Google.
Yes. Okay. Okay. No, that is helpful. And then as far as like, I know a lot of moms are overwhelmed. They're just plain overwhelmed when it comes to AI because there's so many tools and there's so many options. And then you have different things like Lindy AI that can come in and do email triaging, but is it even worth it compared to just using Gemini that's already there? And so my question to you is, how do you determine? Because yeah, the other thing is there's an AI for caption writing. There's an AI for literally almost everything you can think of now. If there could be an AI for using the restroom, there would be. And so my point being, how do you know which tools you should use for which situations, and if what should you be depending that answer on? For example, if I'm a beginner in AI, should I be looking to use OpenClaw just to see how effective it is, even though I can't determine how effective it is because I don't know AI that well? So it's a twofold question. One is, how do I know which AI to use for which situation? And then two is, what should I be considering in deciding which AIs to use? Like, should I consider my lack of experience or experience thereof? What else should I be thinking about?
So I would say for the first question, in terms of how do you know which tools you should be using, you don't. You really don't. In the last 6 years, I have vetted over 500 AI tools, and I did the majority of that vetting and testing while I had a job. So I actually had a learning and development budget that I was using, and I knew I was on my way out, and I had an exit plan in mind, and I wanted to optimize that budget. And that's what I was spending my learning and development dollars on was testing these tools. I had the time to do that. I had the budget to do that. So you don't know unless you try. And that is the huge risk is you might end up wasting more time. You very well at some point will end up wasting more time trying to invest in solving something with an AI tool. So I would say it's less about knowing what tool to use for certain situations and more so knowing what you can give away control over based off of your own comfort level and also what makes the most sense, right? There's thousands of AI tools now. You don't necessarily need to be using those tools for those use cases. I still have yet to really hear broadly from an AI vendor good use cases that have not already been solved for. So my comeback would be think about what you need. Like if you could tomorrow wave a magic wand and an AI tool could be created for a use case that you have, even if you've never heard of it before, what does that look like? And then go see if it's already been done and test it then. But also, I would say use the tools you're already using that you have to use so that at least from a change fatigue perspective, you're not trying to onboard yourself to a new tool. You're just trying to use a new feature of a tool that you already have to use for something. That's the best way to start.
Yeah. No, yeah, that does make complete sense. And then question for you, going back to the idea of just being a mom who's in AI. Are you concerned? Is there a boundary that you feel like you have to have as a mom using AI when it comes to personal information and even using your kids' photos? Is there any concern around that? Hmm.
Yes. I would say this is a very polarizing topic. And I always just try to say, do what makes you feel the most comfortable. Because at the end of the day, we're all moms. We all have our own different styles. It's not a, this is what you should do all the time. I personally don't have a hard time with the privacy concerns because when it comes to social media, sharing my son's photo, I was never doing that to begin with. And so for me, that change wasn't really a change. I just stuck to the same rules I had for social media and the internet in general and just data access in general, and just continued to not share his photos. When it comes to using AI tools, going into the settings and toggling things off that I don't need access to. But again, I think it's a behavioral pattern that we need to question, because if I were to go into, I hate to name a tool, but I feel like I need to speak a tool into existence to give the listeners something to tangibly point to. If you go into Facebook and you go into your Facebook settings, right? Almost all of us have Facebook these days. If you go into your settings, there is a setting that automatically is toggled on and you have to toggle it off that says it has access to your camera roll and it will use it to advertise things to you. That to me is just as dangerous as having places historically and restaurants and vacations and Airbnbs that my family and I have gone to in the last year, right? I don't know what they're doing with that data, but I know they have it. And instead of trying to worry about what they could be doing with it, I'm just not going to give it to them at all. So I think it's more so just create a family rules, if you will, and apply it to everything and not just AI. And then it will seem less scary, less ambiguous, and less of a task to make sure that everything that you're using isn't breaking one of those rules, because we are users and we can put accountability back on the vendor. Anytime I'm testing a tool for a client, I have a list of 3 PDFs of pages worth of notes that they have to pass before I will even accept a demo and see this tool in action. Because if they can't hit off all of my criteria, it's not worth it. They can promise me the moon and the stars. I'm not breaking my family rules for it.
Yes, that's so good. That is really helpful. And then, as far as how you navigate motherhood and business now, what would you say is the number one thing, lesson, if you will, that you've learned, that you've internalized recently that's helped you in your journey as a mom?
There's no such thing as balance. And the moment that you acknowledge that, accept that, and speak that into existence, you actually start to feel some semblance of normalcy, because then you're not subconsciously striving for balance. That's ambiguous and has never been defined.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then one last question before we close. Is AI coming for, okay, no, I'm not going to say it's coming for a job, but let me put it this way. Because just because of the interesting piece of me owning a virtual assistant agency, do you still need an assistant if you have AI? That's my
Yes.
question for you.
Yes. I still have a human assistant. Yes. Here's the thing when it comes to, and this was probably the question you were going to ask beforehand. Here's the thing that I would love to educate anyone who wants to listen on is, can AI take jobs and will it take jobs? Yes. Will the quality of the jobs that they take still be done to the same threshold that they were when it was a human doing the job? No. Sometimes it will be good. Sometimes it will be better than when it was a human. But you have to take that risk. And again, you are responsible for the outcome. So it all comes back to, as the user, when are you going to use AI? How are you going to use it? You could have a whole entire team that's nothing but AI agents. But what does the user experience of your customers and prospects look like when they are going to work with a business that has all AI agents? It could be good, but keep in mind, it takes real humans building, maintaining, governing those agents for it to be an immaculate experience. You're never going to have a scenario where it's all AI and one human and have it be a good one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think too, I guess the more important question is not so much because I think a lot of people get in the fear of, is AI coming for my job? And it's like, even more importantly, how do we leverage AI, regardless of whether or not it comes for what I'm currently doing? How do we leverage AI and leverage what we already have as humans that AI can't replicate, right?
Yeah,
That makes us irreplaceable regardless of whatever AI ends up doing. And so, yeah, I really do appreciate that insight.
of
Well,
course.
this has been wonderful, and I really appreciate your time. And I'm telling you, AI is really, it literally is just one of those trending topics. It's one of the things. So I'm
Yes.
really happy to dive in and just discuss it and create the space where it doesn't feel overwhelming and it doesn't feel scary. It just
Yes.
is a part of our lives now. And we get to choose our relationship with it. And I think that's very powerful. And there's a lot of things that it can do that are also adding on to our capacity and our reach and the things that we are trying to accomplish as moms and businesswomen. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely.
And for our viewers, if you want to connect with Ashley, I will have all of her links below. So definitely reach out, follow, whatever you would like to do. because again, we're creating a community here of moms who are supporting other moms, and this is that space. So if you are curious about more things I would highly encourage you to reach out to Ashley. If you can't get in touch with her from the links below, just reach out to me and I will connect you myself. And just remember to keep doing the things, keep showing up, and remember to take care of yourselves too. And we will see you next time on our next episode of Mompreneurs Making Moves. Thank you again so much, Ashley.
Bye, everyone.